Hello, all. I thought I would try something new this evening and start opening a series on another map that I enjoyed in FarmSim 15, this one called Glen Ellie. I don't know that it was ever published anywhere in particular. I kind of learned about it through FSUK back in the day because the map author who went by the name of FarmerYip, was part of FSUK for quite a while, and he was kind of a prominent mapper in his own right. And this was his final map, as I recall. He made at least one for FarmSim 11, and maybe a couple for FarmSim 13, and then this one here. Actually, I think he worked on a couple for 15, but this is the only one he actually completed. But I don't think it was ever released on FSUK or anywhere else really. For a little while, he had his own little website where he released it, and I don't think it's even up anymore. I think if you Google this on the internet, I don't think you'll come up with a single hit in terms of a download link. So, and that's sometimes makes me wonder just how many mods and maps and whatnot are out there. There might be pretty interesting mods or of public interest, but never were available to the public for various reasons or what have you. Fortunately, we have the internet, it being kind of how it is, and you can, even now, I mean, this is for FarmSim 15, you can still look things up for 15 and even much before, and a lot of that is still hanging out there. But this one here, I don't think you'll find. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube, you'll find a couple of videos on it from back in the day, with a couple people that had it and knew FarmerYip, maybe helped some with the testing or what have you. But in terms of finding the map itself, you're probably going to come up dry. But what was interesting about this particular map, well, there's a lot of things that were interesting, but he built it under the watchful eye of all sorts of people. He set up an account on Twitch, and I'll try to leave a link to it in the description for the map here. But he built it, I think, solely on Twitch. So if you and the videos are gone, all except for maybe one of them, the Twitch is left on there, and it isn't an active account anymore. I don't know when the last time was FarmerYip even logged in, but he built it with hours at a time. He would come home from work and he may be building the map, and he was on camera for hours at a time working on the map, talking about what he was doing. I think people could even comment and ask him mapping questions, and he would help, answer questions as he could. And there maybe was some input from people, but he just had an interesting imagination, kind of a gentle way about him in terms of how he would build a map and put it all together. And even on the pictures, you're looking on the screen, right where my mouse is, this particular area of the map is different from how it's depicted in the picture. So even over time, he ended up changing and altering kind of how he had it together. But it was fully built, with people watching him. I tried to catch those episodes when I could. This would have been, oh, I think it was, when did he release this? I think it was released in June of 15. So kind of towards the middle end of FarmSim 15 era, because as we know, in the fall of that particular year, um, or excuse me, no, I guess it would have been another year. So yeah, it would have been in the middle of FarmSim 15, still with plenty of life in 15 to go. It would be another year before FarmSim 17 would come on. But that's kind of when he released it, and shortly after that, he kind of disappeared from the scene. He came back for a little while. There was a map he did in FarmSim 11 called Feldy, And maybe sometime I'll go do an episode on Feldy. I'd have to reinstall FarmSim 11. And I'd be getting pretty old, but it was a map way ahead of its time. It's a map that you would have seen and expected more, maybe in FarmSim 15, just for what was built into it. And there is obviously more to a map than just someone coloring a few fields on a map and plunking down some trees and a few objects and whatnot. I mean, there's not only the creativity in terms of what you put down, but technically speaking, there's a lot of things, that could be built into it that most of the time aren't. Most mappers maybe don't have the skills to do a whole lot of scripting. Well, when he did Feldy, he worked with, I think, some texture artists, some 3D modeling artists, and some Lua coders. And I'm saying all that in the plural. I don't know. It was a handful of people. And they worked together to create a group of mods, kind of a basket of mods, if you will, that would work with the particular map. So anyway, that's maybe enough about that. I mean, that was called Feldy. It had all kinds of processes and things in there you could do that were just different from any other map that ever was going, and even to the current day, stuff you just don't see. Well, after Glen Ellie was made, I think he toyed with the idea of doing an update to Feldy and making a Feldy 2 project, if you will. But whatever it was, I mean, somewhere he made the decision. I'm not privy to his decision making or whatever. He ultimately decided to shelve it, and it never came to be. Maybe some of the people he wanted to work with, were no longer in the farming simulator realm or what have you, so it just never happened. So this was kind of his final work, and he's calling it a silage map, large field map. It's a standard size map, 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers, 19 fields. We'll see them here just in a moment. And a very hilly map, kind of like he said, not many flat areas. There he has the permissions, and he even mentions here, oh, here's his link, to find him on Twitch. And like I say, I think there still is one video there that's several hours in length, that kind of goes through a part of building this map, but certainly not all of it. So maybe what we could do first of all would be to take a look at the PDA map. Let me see if I can find that here. I tried to open it before starting this. In my mind, there's nothing like getting a flavor of a map by first looking kind of at the top down, the PDA map, if you will. This is what he pulled from his map, and then he gave several labels to it, that we can see in a moment. So the 19 fields, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that's the largest. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so yeah, I'm just refreshing my memory. That means these grass areas here and here and here, and I think over in here is a grass area. Actually, I think there's trees right here. But I think this also is free grass, that the player could take. Didn't have to buy the field. I'm not sure if missions could be run on them. I don't recall. He's labeled a forest area over here. Um, I think he put a placeable area up here so you could put in a sawmill if you wanted. Seems like, and I don't remember, if it isn't for that sawmill, I'm not sure where you sell logs. And there may not be one because I know in here there's some wood chips. You start kind of with a wood chip or two. There's a place to store it. So, and then I think you can compost the chips. He installed a composter unit, powered by I think it was, yeah, powered by a script Marhu wrote. Marhu was kind of a prominent German modder back in the day. I think there's a placeable area over here also. It really was a fairly simply designed map. There's your home is here, There's traffic. It runs, kind of on the map here. Um, there was a sell point in here for most everything. I think in here you could sell palleted goods. You could sell every grain. There was a bale sell point. And if you had barley, I believe you could dispose of it over here. There was a distillery over here. And I think he had intended at one point to have it scripted. So it would crank out barrels of whiskey or something like that. But he never got that part done, so it just became a generic sell point for barley in particular. But the really unique feature of this particular map was uh, the quarry. And most every map in this time period, ever since FarmSim 11, has a BGA in it. And he chose to put a BGA down in a quarry. And I guess some of the backstory, would be that, this was a no longer used quarry or whatever. And so they had built a BGA. So really, all these fields, if he was intending it kind of as a silage map, you had quite a trek getting it out of the field, which was hilly enough in its own right, and then a pretty harrowing drive. And we'll see that in a moment, getting down into this quarry. Especially, there's a little narrow bridge through here that you really have to be on the ball, or you're going to end up in the drink or in some serious trouble. So just very, very unique. I've never seen another farm sim app that put a BGA down in the quarry like that, kind of with a water feature and what have you. But just kind of an interesting setup. The main farm is kind of in the lower portion of the map right here. So, there's a cattle pasture kind of in this area here. The sheep pasture is kind of in this area along here. And chickens, I think, roam the barnyard, if you put them in there. So it kind of takes care of all of the animals here. You can store crop here and all that there too. Um, in terms of the forest, I think I mentioned there's one over here. He's labeled another forest here. I think also there was a woodlot kind of up in this area up here by the composter also. And there's trees obviously everywhere. All of them cuttable. So, so that's kind of a general overview of the map. And here's one other feature I just forgot: the tunnel. I don't know that there are many maps that have a tunnel. He chose to put one in here, and it kind of is through a mountain type area where, there's some water coming down. And truth be told, when I played this map quite a bit, I didn't spend much time in the tunnel. It doesn't seem like we came over here that often. Um, Plus, it probably was just a little bit easier to go on the road, truth be told. But another guy and this other fellow had also spent time watching FarmerYip create the map, and he and I put it on a server, and we played the stuffing out of it. We really had a good time with it, and for me, it was kind of the gateway map into FarmSim 15, if you will. And so when I look back on FarmSim 15, I think we all realize the game comes with certain maps, and to me, this is the map that the game came with. And of course, I know it didn't come with the map. I'm just saying that's kind of how I view it in my mind. This was kind of the way I learned, or the map that I learned FarmSim 15 on. So without any further ado, let's just hop in. I got several other mods installed too, which we'll just ignore for the moment. Um, there's quite a contingent of equipment that he starts you off with. There's a tractor here, two tractors here. He starts you with a big combine. He gives you one of these large mowers, the Krone Big M, and he gives you a forage harvester, the Big X Krone. This was a wood chipper, the gens, I believe. So you shove the trees in, turn it into wood chips, plus a semi-truck up front. Another tractor up here, kind of a wagon to pick things up in the field. Yeah, that's the other tractor. And you have this telehandler unit. Um, and then this here, lever, which has a special bucket on it for the composter unit. Compost was an extra fill type established into the map that he made it real simple. You put all the stuff in over here, and then there was a place around the back. You can just kind of see the pile. You'd basically take it out of here and you take it around back, and that's where you would sell the resultant compost. So I think that may be the end. Oh, then we go to the combine here. Um, yeah, so there was quite a bit of equipment that came with the game, and let me just see here. Maybe I can just start this tractor here, and we can kind of go exploring just a little bit. So, I mean, here's kind of the main farmyard, just to kind of get a picture of it. One lowly rooster crawling around. He had all these special storage units in over here. Let me kind of turn this around, where one of them had an elevator lift at the end. That's chaff. And then all of these are labeled so you knew where stuff could be stored. So there's triggers along here. You can dump it off. But then you got to have a conveyor belt of some kind to bring it out. The cow pasture is straight ahead. Manure bunker just to the right. We have the trough to fill the food in. And there's a fence along here. Let me see, is it? No? Okay, so this is something he did. You'll notice I'm able to drive through the fence. And I wonder, am I able to drive through this fence? Oh, I am too. I remember him making a decision as to whether to have hard objects or collisions, if you will, on these fences. He knew there's a lot of players, that use horseplay or that kind of thing in their farming sim ventures. So he opted to take collisions off on a lot of things so that it wouldn't interfere, with horseplay and you wouldn't get frustrated. I got a series going right now over in Gelvin Valley, and there are just collisions and hard objects everywhere, that make it challenging to, especially if you got the damage mod installed. Um, so, and these are just the ends of the fields down here. I think this fence here does have a collision. Yep, that stops us tight. So that's kind of just the southern end of the map, if you will. Maybe I'll kind of head over here. We're heading over towards where the forest is, and like I say, the forest area as labeled, maybe, it's not the only forest, obviously. And there are fields too. It's kind of interesting how we did this. I think sometimes this is a mark of a good mapper, which FarmerYip was. You notice kind of over to the left on the other side of those that wall, there is another field over there, but we can't get to it. So, in other words, there is an area outside. There's a playable area, and then there's an area outside of that, that we're not able to get to. Well, one of the challenges with a landlocked map is how do you do your map edges so that it looks seamless and normal. And you look at this here, we're driving along this field, and you look clear over to the left, we are quite a ways from where the actual edge of the map is, but we can't get to it, at least not realistically. I mean, I suppose we could attempt to climb the mountains here and maybe get over there and see what we can see. But it isn't a playable area, of the map. He didn't set it up that way. In retrospect, maybe he ran out of time. It almost looks like he had started considering putting something over there if you look kind of at the bottom and the rounded edge, but for whatever reason he just never did. So this then is kind of a higher area in the field. Maybe we wouldn't drive this way in real life. That looks a little sus. But anyway, he has kind of a little forest in here, and it's just kind of a corkscrew path, if you will. This is where all the main trees are that he's put in here. And by the way, the trees, if you look at them, these are different trees than what the standard trees that came with the game. So he installed a special pack. I'm not even sure if I need the right angle to show them to you. If I can get there better. You look at them, they're definitely different from what came with the game. So as you take them out, you can't replant them, with the same types of trees. At least not that I'm aware of. So maybe that's a mod I should do sometime to put it in, make it so you can plant this style of trees that he has here. Kind of a little cubby in there. An additional forest. And then there's a mountain range, kind of off to the left. Maybe there's some way we could finagle a way to get across that if we were enterprising and drove over the top of it. Well, whatever. We're not going to do that. For all intents and purposes, it's off limits to go straight north. Now you see the traffic is on. This is a Scottish map, so of course it's on the left side of the road. This is our home. So when we enter the map, this is kind of where we land. There's an egg sell point you kind of see there right by the door. So if you pick up eggs, that's where you would go. Has a little church in the map right next to the home. That's kind of a nice touch. Kind of a meadow here. I guess this would be more free grass, if the player needed some. Although, as I recall, I think it's rougher than a cob in there. So, good luck mowing it. This to the right is the pasture for the animals, and for whatever reason, he never completed the fence work along here. I think that terminates kind of a way up there, so he must have animals that are very well behaved, that all stay close to the farm, maybe for their next meal or what have you. I'm going to pass this car here. So here we're kind of seeing the other side of the barnyard. They got the silage clamp sitting in there. Field access. Once again, we can drive right along through here. There's a wooden fence in here, but all the collisions are taken off for the sake of horseplay. Kind of coming along here. There isn't much road, but just to the right would kind of be the sheep pasture if we had it there, and then over to the left here, we'll zip in here real quick. This is kind of the major sell point, if you will, dead ahead in that building. You can sell palleted products over here, so wool comes right in here. I think at that marker right there, that's where you purchase new equipment. You sell it kind of over there to the right in that marked area. When you sell disposable equipment, bales get sold here. And there's a number of entrances to the fields and whatnot throughout here, so you can easily get around. Actually, yeah, and this is where your telehandler unit is stored. He's put equipment kind of all over the map. So let me come out of here. I'll use another entrance over here to. I better be careful driving down these roads. I think this is one of our fields, and on that, what does he start you with? Fields 3, 4, 7, and 9. For some reason I thought 15 was included, but apparently not. So 4 fields, not a huge amount, so you have something to start with and then something to reach for. There's kind of this little back road here, and again now the sheep pasture be just to the right. This is an open grassy area where the player can cut some grass. There's another field kind of beyond that we can see those trees. Actually, several of them kind of down in the southeast corner. We won't necessarily drive down there, but I'm going to take us through the tunnel here, kind of to an inner mountain valley, if you will. You know, once we get through this particular area, maybe I'll just hop in cab. You can hear the sound effects he's put in here. Turn on the lights. Even with a waterfall feature there, another one. So here's kind of an inner valley. There's a forest kind of marked off to the left, and also then in the right, I mean, it's kind of an open grassy area, meadow if you want to cut something for hay or what have you. Nobody owns it, so anybody can make use of it. And then we kind of go through a small little dip in the hills over here to get out of this inner area. And there's kind of another wooded area over here, but this climbs the small hill up here to the distillery. Out here before us is another just open grass area anybody can use. I'll just tootle up here to the distillery real quick. And this is one like I was mentioning a little bit ago. I think he says he wished he would have scripted so that it outputted pallets of whiskey rather than just being a sell point. So I believe right here you can sell manure, possibly. Maybe I almost think I've done that there before. I think that's kind of how he has it set up. There's a whiskey barrels, and you sell it in here, and kind of a neat setup in here. Surrounded by trees, so which basically force you to use the entrance over here. You can't just come through the trees and just burst on the scene. Because once again, all of the collisions are taken off all these fences here. But not on the trees. Those are all cut up, of course. Maybe I'll just continue through this field and we can head up there. One of them, if we head left here, we would go to the quarry entrance, back to the main road. We'll just head up this one here and go see the hills beyond, if you will, or the hills and fields. Whoa! Don't try to open a drink while driving. Couple fields up here, one plowed, one in canola. And kind of in the middle of them. I always appreciate it when mappers do this. You know, I think he kind of intended this map. He made it for a friend of his who wanted kind of a silage map. Apparently that's a main purpose. So, in other words, I don't think he intended to put a ton of work into it, but up here is kind of a water feature. An open pond. You can see all the way to the bottom, but there's the water. And if you fall into that, you aren't coming out without a reset. So I think I'll go down this road here and head back out to the main road before heading further north. And for all his efforts on, I say efforts, his intentions, taking collisions off certain fences, there are certain fences in here where it's very hard. Like all these rock walls are full-on collision. You can't run into those, so that basically limits a player from cheating too much in terms of how they just drive and walk all over the map. Yeah, they're taking off some places to help with field work, but other places they're very much in play. We'll just kind of go over this bridge here that he has, another water feature up here. Fish pond, and I think at night maybe even now. Can you hear? Yeah, he put in some frog sounds so you can hear the rivets. Up here, I believe this is a storage place for wood chips. I think that's all it does. You put it in there and it'll store it. I don't think it sells it. Matter of fact, there must be a way to get them back out. But I gotta be honest, I'm not sure how you get them back out. Oh, maybe you go down in there. I wonder if that's it. You go down kind of into the basement and you would scoop it up and haul it back out. That's probably what you would do. Over in this area over here is the composter unit. There's a small woodland there. There's a woodland straight ahead where they're planted in rows. There's a composter, kind of an area for a placeable. And I think when he was testing the map, the placeable that he put down was a sawmill that cranked out board pallets, which then of course could be sold kind of up in that town. So we could head across the fields here. It'd be just in the grass, head across the top of 14, but we can't really get through the mountain range that, you know, if we look from here, we can kind of see it over there. There's kind of a mountain range there we couldn't get across, very hilly, which I just love in maps, that it isn't flat. So we'll head back down this way, and I think maybe the next thing we could go see is the quarry. You can see kind of what he has hidden down there. You know, I like these water features, but I gotta say, no water, at least not water that I've seen, is that clear, particularly. So, you know, if I had one tiny complaint, it probably would be that the water needs a little bit of color of some kind. But I don't have much to complain about with this map. Like I say, I played a lot of hours on it and enjoyed all of it. And you'll see things like a left. Look how deep that hole is. You get off the road in here, yeah, you can maybe get out, but you shouldn't be messing around. You may find an even deeper hole to get yourself into. Kind of some curves in here. This is a road that I pointed to earlier that would come out of the field, and right down here, we'll slip in front of this vehicle. Here we go to down to the quarry. And it can be done at full speed if you really know what you're doing, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've done this, and I'm on the keyboard steering, so I really got to be careful. There's areas in here that are wider than others. Over here he's got this cool water coming out, and you funnel down to a narrow spot. Then you get down here, and you gotta be careful how you go in here to this particular area to reach the quarry. And remember, if you're hauling a silage cart, you gotta come all the way down here. Even as water going across the road. Now, it's just, you know, it isn't too deep. It's just enough to trickle through. But he forces you to drive through water just to get down here to the quarry area where the BGA is. And there's piles of old gravel, it appears here. But otherwise, this is a fully functioning BGA, just like any other. I think he's put some fuel down here in case you need it. We'll just fuel up a little bit. Otherwise, just like everywhere else, you dump it in there. I think this is no, that is a compost unit. What all goes in there? Maybe wood chips go in there. Is that what gets put in there? I'm trying to remember. And then there's slurry that can come off in the tank over there. So it's got all the hallmarks of the traditional BGA. And I just love the details that he has out here, whether it's a scattered tire, construction materials, old concrete, tiles and whatnot. Just adds to the general ambiance. That looks pretty harrowing. So, so I know it made for quite a lot of fun, when I was playing it with this other fellow, um, just to have this extra challenge kind of coming down in here. I mean, it's just very pretty to look at, um, but also a challenge when, a significant portion of what you may do in the map lies down in this quarry. And you got to take trips in and out of it, and yeah, you can do cheat things like reset yourself out of the quarry and it'll take you back up top, but that's kind of a pain too a lot of times. So it was definitely fun. So let's pop out on the main road again here. We'll follow this car kind of up and around. I think it's reasonable FPS, at least for my computer here. I don't know if I can get around this guy. We'll see if I can. Yeah, pass him just in time to turn on another road. We'll turn up this dirt road over here and go see the other side of the map. We've already kind of been on this southern portion. We'll kind of head over west, and this is a bumpier road. It's kind of a field access road, the main access really to the entire east side of the map. So if you play this map, you will definitely spend a lot of time on this particular road. There's another one that heads out to the main road, if you will. If you go up there, the one that heads over to your house. So, just a country dirt road, and I've never been to Scotland, but one thing I noticed about this map is it has lots and lots of rock. Here's kind of just a general field access road coming up here, another one. It gives us access into the grassy area, and this larger field, number 13 up north, I think you can get up there too. So, you know what, I'll turn this around here, and I'll head up on the roadway. That'll send us through the grass, but I think the dirt road will head up there in its own right. So pretty simply constructed. I mean, there's not a huge number of bells and whistles, if you will, or lots of things to figure out in terms of how the basic map works. So, which makes it pretty easy to dive into. So there's a road to the left to access those fields kind of up top. Here we go down kind of between all of these. It's a little bit narrow. And honestly, if he had collisions on all these fences, I do not know how you would bring some of the machinery down in here that sometimes is required. But be that as it may, just kind of interesting setup here as we head up into this little ravine, up to a, whoops, side kind of reached out and grabbed me there. And then there's which we saw, I think, on the map, there's kind of a placeable area up here. I know when I played the map at some length, we put greenhouses and whatnot up here. And then this is kind of the largest field up here. It kind of goes way up to the north end of the map. So I won't head up that way. I'll maybe just take this road kind of over this way. I don't remember exactly where it came out. It may just go to the edge of the field. I don't remember if it went along it. That tree right there that I just drove by, I learned was kind of a pain. I think when I played it, I eventually cut it down because it got in the way. Yeah, this is just kind of cutting off the field here. Maybe it even continues. I see it's dark under there. Lost you out of the field. A little bit easier driving. Oh, and look at that. Yeah, there's an error. There's that floating tree. You can kind of see right here. It's just kind of hanging there in midair. You know, even the best mapper will have uh, mistakes sometimes in there like that. And it can happen so easily. I don't know if anybody's ever worked in the map editor before, but when you're placing a lot of trees all at the same time, you know, it's rapid fire clicking. Um, and sometimes where you click the mouse to put it is right on top of something else. I think sometimes it gets confused. There's a way to tell it to put it on the surface of the map, but sometimes it gets confused and it puts it on a trigger, which is also a type of hard object, you know, but obviously for visual purposes, you don't want it hanging in midair or sitting up out of the ground. Or this is in reality that way. So I don't know if this looks like a map. You know, that's, let's see, can I get out that way? I don't know if that road goes all the way, so I'll just continue this way. I think I've mentioned in another video, I'm a big fan of the map mod. It's hands down, it's my favorite type of mod is the map because it's the world where we do what we do, which is farm and log and all that stuff. No map. You know, if there wasn't for having map mods available and all we had was the stock maps, I think most of us would be pretty bored a long time ago without having all these other neat creative places that, you know, guys have put together. So to me, the map mod is number one in terms of mods, long before different kinds of tractors and, you know, all sorts of other mods. Looks like there's something popping in there, but I won't worry about it at the moment. Oh, this doesn't go all the way to the road. I was mistaken. So I guess it just comes kind of up here to this meadow, and it ultimately comes back over here to the selling point place as the way to get back out of here and onto the main road. I think these fields can be accessed from the road up there to the right, but actually I'll just continue along here to get back out to the road. I don't need to go into the selling point. So I don't know how long I've been jabbering here. This is, and I've never done a map tour, so I don't know that I've even said all the most pertinent information. Maybe we can just go through the barnyard one more time as I park the tractor. But but I don't know. To me, like I say, maybe it's sentimental value at this point. I spent a lot of time on here, so um, kind of know it almost like the back of my hand. You know, obviously this is where you store stuff, grain, buildings to put things in, even more storage up ahead with sugar beets, potatoes, and so forth. But for now, I'm gonna just put the tractor back in the shed. Oh, I didn't mean to open the bank. That's what I wanted to do. I gotta get that on a different input binder. So we'll just kind of park that here. Kind of look off to the east. That's the sunrise. This, by the way, is where the wool comes out. So there's been many of a pallet I've pulled off of there. And and really what I'm showing you here is the original map. This is how FarmerYip built it, and maybe this is another reason I have sentimental attachment to it. I used this map kind of to learn how to do some modding. So so there was a lot of time spent just learning how to do things. You know, one of the things I did, and there's going to be a whole lot more in later videos that I want to share on this if we get to it, if I do a series on this and continue it. Um, but like one of the things I did, you look down there at that chicken coop, the area I just showed you where the pallet came out. Well, I knew there was a mod where the pallets of wool could be collected and put kind of all on a matrix, if you will. So in other words, you didn't have to babysit it and pull the pallet off each time, which kind of got tedious. You had to be on the ball to go collect it, or else you would lose wool. Well, so I took this place where the wool pallet spawned, and I put it kind of over in this open area, and then I installed a mod that would allow you to stack, oh, I don't know, maybe it was 12 pallets. And then when it was full, all 12 pallets, then I could bring in a truck and load them all up and haul them off to market, that kind of thing. So, and that wasn't really mapping per se, but there was just a lot I tried to use this map for, just to learn how to do some basic things, because, the best way any of us learn modding is by studying what someone else did, studying what the giants did, reading the forums, reading tutorials, and any more like looking at YouTube, whatever you can get your hands on, or watching a guy like FarmerYip as he painstakingly built this thing in on Twitch, for everybody to see. So I learned a lot using his map and just kind of modifying and updating it and tweaking it the way we wanted to use it kind of on the server. So for now, I'll maybe just take a brief look around. We didn't really drive off in this area over here, but it's beautiful map, just kind of like the rest of it. And I think with that, I'll let you go this first episode of here. And the next time I think I come in here, I'm going to use the modded version of this map, kind of where it ended up, or kind of where it's still morphing, if you will, to the way I had it, all the things that I did in it. But for now, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for stopping by, and you have a good night, good morning, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.